Welcome to the Harmony Channel. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining me. We have a very interesting conversation today about Candace Owens versus TPUSA. Shemeka Michelle, Virgil Walker, Dre Baldwin are going to join me to discuss it. Blake Neff, one of the producers of the Charlie Kirk show, this week tweeted out what seemed like an invitation for Candace Owens to join them in Phoenix for a discussion about her allegations about TPUSA potentially being involved or creating a climate. I think creating a climate is a good way to explain it. Creating a climate that caused or was a trigger in Charlie Kirk's assassination. They've been some pretty provocative podcasts by Candace. Obviously, her and Charlie Kirk were very close. She was at the foundation of TPUSA, and she's been off the approved reservation as it relates to talking about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. This has upset people at TPUSA, I think justifiably, but they extended an invitation. Candace says, yep, I'll do it anytime, anywhere. And then the next thing you know, Blake Neff tweets out the live stream we announced on the show Wednesday has been set at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. local time on Monday, December 15th. A collection of Charlie's friends will respond to statements made by real Candace Owens to set the record straight once for all prior to opening of America Fest. We'll be live streaming from Charlie's Phoenix studio. Our offer from yesterday holds. If Candace wishes to join us in person in Phoenix, she is welcome to do so. She can let us know by the end of the day today. Candace responded, kind of weird how you didn't email me or call me to ask about times or availability, and chose instead to tweet this confirmation out at midnight. Podcast live every day, which you knew, but we will happily cancel the daily podcast and we'll join you guys virtually instead for the live stream on the 15th. If that works on your end, let's lock it in. Well, I believe it was either late last night or early this morning, I think late last night, Blake Neff tweeted out that, no, we're doing it on the 15th and we're moving on. Let me make sure. Yep. All right, let me read this properly. This is 19 hours ago. Yesterday, we made it clear that we would be scheduling a formal response to the allegations and accusations you have made. We've decided that response will be delivered during a live stream on December 15th. Thank you for your response, letting us know you will not be joining the in-person conversation. We will be proceeding without you. Their response, and I'm trying to be objective here and not, but their response or their invitation seems a bit insincere. That I wish that they had just said, hey, look, we're going to respond on December 15th. If you want to witness our response in person on December 15th, you're welcome. That is what has been offered. She can witness their response. I think they have every right to respond. I think a lot of people will be locked in. I don't blame Candace for not flying to Phoenix and attending that personally. Candace is someone who I think has sound reason for feeling that, you know, there are people that would like to harm her, not specifically TPUSA people, but people that would like to harm her. And so she's probably very careful about her travel, doesn't do any last minute traveling, and probably doesn't want to travel someplace where she's going to be in a room filled with people that are angry with her. And, you know, if they were interested in going back and forth with her, they could do it over a live stream. Doesn't need to be in person. This all seems like a pointless PR war at this point. But I just, tiny bit, I was glad to see TPUSA saying, hey, we're going to address this. I don't like the games that they played as it relates to Candace's participation. Virgil, help me out here as I think of gather some more thoughts here. Your reaction to the back and forth.
I've not been a fan of the back and forth from the outset. I think that the conversations should start behind the scenes, and perhaps they have. I'm not privy to everything that's happening at or with TPUSA, nor do I have any connection in any way, shape, or form to Candace and what she's doing and all of these people that she says that are in the inner circle of TPUSA who are reaching out to her to give her the information that she's running with. I think many people, publicly speaking, are just tired of the back and forth. All the insinuations. It's difficult to keep up with what's actually taking place. Like you, Jason, I think I'm glad to hear that TPUSA is finally sitting down and saying, we're going to address what transpired or the things that have been alleged about their behavior and the like. I think that's important for them to do, to set the record straight, not only for a watching public, but also for the donors who are probably having questions and wanting to know what's taking place and what's transpiring. For the most part, they have got to know and recognize whatever they say will not be the end of it. It won't. There'll be other. It's like asking. It's like a kid constantly asking why, right? I mean, you're gonna have more why. Well, why did this happen? Well, why did that happen? And you validate. More innuendo, more conspiracy, and that kind of thing. So while on the one hand they have a responsibility to respond, they have to recognize that the end result of this is just going to be, Candace asking more and more and more questions. I think that's the end result of what transpires on the 15th.
Ray, what's your initial thoughts on this?
TPUSA doesn't want to have a real conversation, and that's obvious from what they've done here. Now, Candace has been bashing them for about 90 days now. Blake Neff's statement, if you saw the video, that 12-minute video he put out, he was obviously reading, and that sounded like legalese to me. I'm not a lawyer, just played one on TikTok, but it sounded like legalese. He was reading something prepared by a lawyer. And if you are not talking to an investigator, what do you need a lawyer to write your statement for? If you're defending yourself with the truth doesn't need a lawyer. It doesn't need legal defense. It's just the truth. It's just what it is. Then he puts out the statement that says we're going to have a live stream to have you, we're going to challenge all the points that you've made about us, Candace. If the whole point of TPUSA is to defend their honor and defend the legacy of Charlie Kirk, which they've been framing this the entire time, then the whole point is having a conversation. We can have a conversation on a computer like we all are doing right now. We're not all in the same physical location. We're having a conversation. He's saying it needs to be in person. Now, he said us and friends of Charlie, whatever that means. They're using Charlie's name as a crutch here emotionally. People aren't catching that insinuation. So let's say it's 4 or 5 guys that she's been bashing. She's been naming several men. So a bunch of men are going to meet in Phoenix, and they're going to invite a woman to come into the room, into a lion's den with a bunch of men who she's been accusing and asserting negative things about for months. And she's supposed to show up there, just her, with a bunch of men in a room. That just doesn't sound right. If I'm Candace's husband, that doesn't sound right. I'm not sending my wife to that. Secondly, third, if they seriously want to shut her up and get her to stop talking, they need to have a conversation with her. Because if this keeps going the way it's been going, as Virgil just attested to, Candace keeps going on her path over here. They keep going on their path over there. How does TPUSA win? Candace has a bigger audience. She has more momentum. She's a better speaker. She's better at frame control. She's better at this verbal back and forth. They have no one who's as good as her. The only person they had anywhere close was Charlie Kirk. He's dead. What are they going to do? Only thing they have left is to hit her with a defamation lawsuit, and that's coming probably within the next 60 days. That's the reason why they had this lawyer write that statement.
I want you to follow up on that. So, some people might think like they should just cut straight to the defamation lawsuit, that this weakens them, particularly perception-wise. But if they went straight to, hey, we're suing, they're probably in a stronger position. I thought that's the route they would potentially go. What they've done makes me think they really don't want to do that, because there would be way too much discovery and way too many questions about finances.
I agree. And that's the reason why Candace has them in a corner right now. She hasn't checkmated. I think no matter what they do, they lose. If they play the PR game, they lose. They play the podcasting game, they lose. They play the legal game, they lose. And this all plays right into Candace's hands, because she can point this out and say, well, the reason why they don't want to play any of these games is because everything I'm asserting, some of it is probably right. Some of the stuff I've been throwing out there, some of this is going to stick to the wall. And some of this evidence I've thrown out there, not proof, but evidence, is going to stick to the wall. And somebody over there is going to look bad. They don't want to look bad. So they're trying to shut me up. They have failed to shut me up. And now I got them exactly where I want them. That's where I think this ends up.
Shemeka, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm under the belief that where there's smoke, there's fire. And so I just feel like all of these people coming in with the same talking points, she's evil, she's demonic, she's delusional. It's like they received an email to say, hey, we need you all saying the same thing on the same page. Makes me feel like there's a reason they want to shut her up, which is why I want her to press the gas. I want everything to come out. And for me, it's not a matter of turning points, setting the record straight, because I feel like unless they go the legal route, there is no setting the record straight. It's just them telling their side. And if they don't address all of the questions, all of the allegations, for me, I'm not going to feel like they set the record straight. So I am under the belief, too, that she does have them in a corner, and I'm waiting to see what their next move is. I don't think they really wanted to sit down with her. All of us do this all the time. We know how this goes. There's, conversation about scheduling, and I even ask security questions as well, just me. So I know that would be a concern for Candace Owens. So I just think that they weren't being genuine when the offer was put there. We understand that you can use so many platforms and just send a link and have this conversation virtually. The fact that it is December 15th, George Farmer's birthday, or else it just doesn't come across genuine at all.
Shemeka, I'm going to stick with you, and then Dre, then Virgil. Do you think Candace Owens has been fair or appropriate in her investigation, Turning Point USA and their supporters would say, in her attack on TPUSA?
I think that when you are dealing with the public and you realize that some of the public may be, for lack of a better term, short bus riders, there is this, you do know that some people are going to take what you say and run with it and do things that you probably wouldn't approve of them doing, maybe inboxing, DMs, who knows what happens when you put these type of allegations out there. So I think that possibly it could have started behind closed doors. I don't know if it did, but I appreciate that it's out in the open. To me, that pushes some more accountability that they can't hide, because it would be so easy for them to say, no, this is what happened. No, this was said. If we don't know. But I appreciate them having to be open and be held accountable for the things that she's asking, the questions that she's asking, that many of us want to know the answers to. Something just doesn't feel right. And the idea that we should just believe the government is silly to me. As I've said before, I feel like they covered up the murder of JFK, MLK. I said even Tupac and Biggie, I just don't think we have to just fall in line, and I appreciate that she isn't. I think it requires accountability because it's so open and public.
Dre, has she been fair and appropriate?
Absolutely. This is all fair game. What Candace Owens is doing is she's basically taking traditional investigative journalism and she's brought it to the internet. And a traditional investigative journalist goes and gets all the information, all the evidence they can find. They chase down every lead. Then when they finally come to a conclusion, they write one big story or they write a book or they put out a documentary. Candace Owens is doing the same thing, except she is spreading out her investigation and putting every piece of it on the internet for the audience to follow along with. And people are basically taking every piece of it out of context and saying, well, she said this and this and this, and the Egyptian planes and Israel and this and this. And then they're straw manning it and attacking each individual piece. But when you're doing an investigation, You chase down leads, and some of those leads, 80% of the leads you chase down may lead to absolute nothing. It may lead you to a brick wall. That's what happens when you're doing investigations. That's what Candace is doing. And then when she finds something that sticks, then eventually what you would do is, let's say, quote unquote, write the story. Or if you're a detective, you're Bunkin McNulty, you go bring it to the sergeant and say, here's what I have. Let's go charge this person because we believe we have enough evidence that we can prove this in court. That's what Candace is doing. And people are taking pieces out of it and saying, well, what about this? What about this? Well, this is the reason why artists hide their work while they're in the middle of painting, because they don't want you to see it in the progress because it doesn't look right. But when you see the final picture, it all makes sense. So Candace has a right to do this. And bigger than that, Jason, she's just asking questions. And if you're telling the truth, you can ask me any question you want. If I'm telling you the truth, I don't care what you ask me. I'll answer every single question because I'm telling the truth. The truth is self-evident, and the truth doesn't need a lawyer if you're not talking to a police officer. So this is why TPUSA looks bad, and they don't have anyone who's good enough at frame control to kind of filibuster anything that Candace is saying. So no matter what they do, they lose.
Right. Yeah.
Virgil, give me 30, 45 seconds to get. I want you to come at this from a biblical angle after I put a little context around what I want you to evaluate. And I'm not giving you a lot
I've got
of
to
time.
respond to what Dre said as well, too.
Go ahead, but be brief because I'm going to piggyback Dre to make a bigger point. Go ahead.
Gotcha. I don't disagree with Dre from a standpoint of everything how he framed it. She's better at frame control. They don't have anyone that will be able to compete with her on that level. Charlie's gone. The challenge is what he mentioned as it pertained to putting together this picture behind the scenes, an investigative reporter. They go do all the investigation in private. What you're having is this public investigation where leads that go nowhere, but they're insinuations that as a result become facts in the mind of the listening ear. That's the problem. We've got all these issues that are out there that go nowhere, that have no real evidence backing them. And so what we're watching is her unpacking her own mind, her own thoughts, her own ideas in real time, whereas a proper investigative journalist will go and do all of that work behind the scenes, get to conclusions, and then provide you the final report. What we're seeing is the actual opposite. And that's a part of that's the biggest part of the problem.
And so you've set up the point that I was going to make, that what we're witnessing in real time is a new phenomenon as the world, the public square, has moved to the internet. And things have now, communication has moved to the internet. And we used to live in a time where there were called private investigators. They investigated in private. and so these uncomfortable questions would get asked in private, and they may come and ask me, Jason Whitlock, where were you at on September 10th? And you said you were at Taco Bell, but we don't see any stains on your shirt and blah, blah, blah. And you know, we think you were actually at McDonald's. Ronald McDonald has told us that you were there with him and y'all had double cheeseburgers. And now everybody's like, man, look at the police asking Whitlock these questions. And it may turn out that at the end, like a week later, I provide the investigator. Here's my receipt from Taco Bell. I had, 3 of these, blah, blah, blah. But everybody spent a week thinking, man, Whitlock was at McDonald's. He's guilty.
Right.
All of that used to transpire in private. And I may get asked a bunch of uncomfortable questions in private that end up leading nowhere.
Right.
But this new world we've created where podcasting and social media and a lot of our communication happens out in front of everybody, it's very uncomfortable, but this is the world we have created. And Candace is just like, and early adopter is not what I'm saying, but she's like, hey, I'm going to do it. This is the world we live in. Things get discussed publicly. Look, people were publicly trashing Anthony Fauci and everybody as it relates to COVID. Everybody was doing it. And some of the people we accuse of things weren't actually guilty of it. And some of the people, it just depends. And so Candace like, hey, man, this is the world we live in now where, we do these types of investigations and we think out loud. And so maybe it's just a byproduct of the time we're living in and the complications and problems that this social media world creates. So go ahead, Virgil.
You're absolutely right. That's what's happened. The problem with this is that in the meantime, between the accusation or the investigation and the production of evidence, real people are getting hurt. That's what's happening in real time. And so as a result of that, and they're getting hurt based upon something that's so tragic. No one else has witnessed something like this in such a public way. So they're heavily impacted by what's transpiring, and they're pushing back and say, hey, we've got to stop this. This has got to stop. And all that's required, you're spot on with how you're framing this. What's happening in the meantime is all Candace has to say is something doesn't feel right. And that alone, that whatever that feeling is sufficient to create enough question in the mind of her listeners to make something that needs to still be investigated sound as if it's factual. And then everybody is running with that fact to pin guilt upon someone, because all of us are hurting after witnessing the death of Charlie Kirk. That's what's problematic in this whole thing.
Here's what I would say, though. I think that people's feelings are getting hurt, and having someone who has been smeared publicly, and I know, and particularly with lies, people writing long stories on me filled with things that just absolutely did not happen. And I know how outrageous and frustrating that is. But, and there's not much of a but here, but the actual real victim is TPUSA.
Oh, yes.
These individuals may have got punched in the shoulder and it hurts, it stings, but that pain is going to go away. These punches that are being at TPUSA could do some real damage, and they are doing real damage. This is the other point that I would make, that no one wants to make. I say that I've discussed with two heavy donors in TPUSA. They're not offended by what Candace Owens is doing. They got some questions they want answered. And then there's a bunch of influencers that love the TPUSA parties, like getting flown out to this event and that event first class, maybe get a little check. They're having a completely different discussion than the donors are.
No,
and
I'm with you.
When I go ahead, and when I look at fun parties, she doesn't help you build your brand. She doesn't have any money she's paying anybody. The other side does. And so maybe that's where all the noise is. Like, some people are making money and having fun, and I'm not trying to cast aspersion on those people in TPUSA, but everybody needs to put all their cards on the table. And that's why I'm going to ask you all, I think I already know the answer to this, but 2 nights ago is the first time I've ever shaken Candace Owens' hand, ever. I've been in a building with her a 2 or 3 different times, but 2 nights ago, because I went to her, she had that George Floyd documentary that I attended, the premiere of that, but I didn't engage with Candace there. It was too many people, and I'm just not one of them people. And then in DC years ago, I went out and spoke for her and Brandon Tatum. Never spoke to Candace Owens personally. When I went on stage, off stage, talked with Brandon Tatum, and I left. Other night at Tucker Carlson's party, first time I've engaged, and we probably engaged for 2-3 minutes tops. I'm just not like that. I spent more time talking to Marjorie Taylor Greene than virtually anybody, maybe Jelly Roll. And I was glad to meet Candace, glad to take a picture and all that other stuff. So it's not personal for me. I'm not making money with Candace. I'm not in the bag for Candace. I think, and Dre, I know you're on a tight schedule, so I'm gonna come to you first. But I don't think everybody's being transparent about what pressures they may be under or who they're rooting for and what might be shaping their point of view and perspective on this. Dre, we'll get a thought from you, and then I know you got to get to another deal.
So the thing is, it looks like, just looking at the conversations, just look at the comments on Blake Neff's post after he said, "Thank you for letting us know you won't be coming to our in-person events." 93% of it was negative. People are seeing through the nonsense. And he sounds like a PR flag. If he's the best person they have to send to the front lines to have this conversation, this is why I said TPUSA is in trouble in terms of the PR. Now, in terms of the donors, I don't know that much about that. But in terms of the PR, they're losing this battle. And as far as their influencers, well, you can point them out. All you have to do is just scroll down your feed on the For You feed on X. You can see everybody who's bashing her. Every day they're using the same clips, the same points, the same straw man fallacies. They're doing it over and over again every day at the exact same times. I can even tell you their names. I just scroll down Twitter and I can tell you who they are. So it's obvious that these people it's a coordinated campaign. And as far as what Virgil said, I'm going to challenge you on that word hurt. Because someone says something about you that you don't like, or that you're not feeling, or even maybe false. I mean, it's sticks and stones. If it's false, it's false. And as I said, truth is self-evident. And these people taking offense, and a lot of them are using Charlie's name, as I said, as an emotional crutch. I was a friend of Charlie Kirk, so if you like Charlie Kirk, that means don't say anything bad about me because I was a friend of Charlie. Or Charlie started TPUSA, and if you like Charlie, then that means you can't bash TPUSA. All right, that's nonsense. That's a non sequitur. There's no transitive property between Charlie Kirk, the person, and anybody who stood next to him. Just like there's no transitive property between Brutus and Julius Caesar, according to the frame that Candace has created. I'm not saying that's the case, but what I'm saying is just because you stood next to somebody that I like doesn't mean I have to like you. Doesn't mean I have to show you the same respect because you may be a completely different person and did completely different things. So I say this is all part of the game. And as your former co-host Marcellus once said, when you call for attention, you can't hang up. And you're getting on a big organization with all that attention as TPUSA, or you become an influencer, or you're even on Harmony standing next to Jason Whitlock, you may get some blowback just because of you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, so to speak. And you got to be willing to take that. And if you don't want to take it, then stay in the shadows.
Last thing, Blake, just Dre, very quickly. Do you know Candace Owens? Is this personal for you in any way?
I do not know Candace Owens. I just look at myself as a logical, objective person. I've never met Candace, and I just like when people ask questions. And after 2020, that virus, anytime I see somebody asking questions and they're getting bashed by the group, the bandwagon, then I'm open to hearing what they have to say.
Thank you, Dre. Shemeka, the nature of your relationship with Candace and/or TPUSA, I would imagine you've probably been to some TPUSA events.
I haven't been to any TPUSA events, and I've been in the building or been around both Charlie and Candace and probably some of the other people. I have not talked to either one of them or had not talked to Charlie ever. So I don't know them personally. I don't have any type of personal connection. For me, I just appreciate someone standing 10 toes down and going after what they believe. I believe in being transparent, being open. If there's an investigation, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's see what the truth is. So this is why I'm Team Candace, because I don't like when someone says, "Oh, don't listen to that person. That person is crazy. You can't go and listen to their podcast." I was never an avid fan of Candace. I maybe would watch things here and there. I loved her documentary, A Shot in the Dark, with someone who has 3 daughters, and I've watched the medical profession push these shots on my own children. But as far as knowing her personally or watching her podcast all the time, I didn't until people told me I couldn't. Because for me, again, if there's smoke, there's fire. So they are all gathering around or coming together to say she's evil, she's demonic, she's delusional for a reason. And for that cause, I'm tuned in because I don't like that. I would rather walk alone than in a group going in the wrong direction. So the fact that she's willing to stand alone and take the heat, and all of these people saying she's only doing this to make money off of Charlie Kirk. Candace was making money prior to Charlie Kirk's death. A lot of these other people were not. So I can, if you're gonna talk about somebody being genuine and maybe their reasons or motives for going after the spotlight, Candace isn't the one that I'm shining the light on, because she was already doing this. For me, it's some of these other people. What are their motives? We know that TPUSA brings in a lot of money, and everybody now is like fighting for that spotlight, that top spot. I don't know if all of their motives are pure. And so let's see. Let's let the truth come out, or these, the evidence, and people will decide for themselves.
The other aspect of this, Virgil, and when I answer the question about your relationship with Candace and or TPUSA, but the other thing that people are rallying around, and this is why I'm an oddball, is because I've only voted once, and it was for Donald Trump, and it was a thank you to Donald Trump, and it was, I want Donald Trump to stay out of jail, I want January 6 people out of jail, I want to thank him for overturning Roe v. Wade, let me vote. My political convictions as it relates to Republican and Democrats just don't run much deeper than Donald Trump and now Marjorie Taylor Greene or whatever. But a lot of people clearly feel like Candace is destroying the Republican Party. And if we don't have TPUSA, we'll never win another election. And so we got to rally around, and we had, and the Democrats are corrupt, and yeah, maybe everything wasn't perfect at TPUSA, but we can't win without them. Politics is their golden calf, is their idol, and I get why they're rallying around. And I look like an oddball because I've been crystal clear, man. Like, I'm a reluctant political person. Our only salvation is Jesus Christ. And so I'm kind of let the chips fall where they may. And I know that makes me an oddball, makes some people not like me. And, like Whitlock just doesn't get it. But anyway, Virgil, your thoughts.
No, a lot of thoughts around all that you shared. One, I'll start with this. As far as my relationship with TPUSA, I've connected with Blexit, written for them, which was an organization that Candace started, write for them, work with a number of the guys at TPUSA Faith, and have been involved there. So I hear, and again, I'm not directly connected. I know these are all friends of mine. Reach out to them, connect with them, and so. But I've also been no one's bought and paid for me. I have my own objective thought process about the issues of the day. I haven't been a basher of Candace. I haven't been an advocate necessarily for TPUSA. I do, like Shemeka said, let's let all of it play out. I do recognize that Candace as an individual, TPUSA as an organization, the organization has a lot more to lose than Candace does. And as a result, she has a lot more firepower in the political public square, if you will, on social media. She could say whatever she wants to say, not be really held accountable for much of it, and allow her people, her followers, to do what they do as far as helping her to investigate. While as an organization, TPUSA has a lot to lose. I want to go back finally to something that you said, Jason, about the idol of politics. And I think what you're hearing in people's concern or angst about, well, if TPUSA goes, we'll lose the election, is just that. I think what we're missing is what we enjoyed during Charlie Kirk's memorial. When we were at the memorial, the thing that we pointed to was that Charlie Kirk pointed all of us to Christ and him crucified. All of us were excited about the fact that we were gathering together under the banner of Christ, and that we were focused on him. I think these little infightings and skirmishes cause you to recognize, what do you care about most, right? I've been maligned. Folks have said stuff about me to the point Dre made before he left. I let that fall off if it's not true. It doesn't matter about me. But an organization that I represent and have worked for, that does matter to me. And I will make a stand for that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I've got to point back to Christ is in sovereign control. God is in sovereign control of all things. And in that I will rest. In that I will have peace. In that I'll find the joy of doing the work that we've been given or tasked to do in our current day. So that's kind of where my plane would land as it relates to all of that.
I'm gonna say one more thing, maybe two, who knows? But I'm not trying to be antagonistic. I'm really not. I'm not trying to declare war on people. But as I sit and look, this whole AmFest, and I've been once, and I enjoyed it, and I was like, oh man, I get it. This is kind of. It was like a celebrity event for conservatives. I saw people walking around the red carpet or just walking through with security teams around them, and I'm like, man, these guys, this is their celebrity moment. And I got it. I was like, oh, this is kind of, but again, because I've had all those experiences in the secular world, and now I'm like, oh, the conservative political world's got their whole little celebrity deal, and they mix it with a little religion, but I'm like, hey man, this feels like me in Las Vegas, and again, it's not that I said I'll never go back, but I was like, for me and my walk, I know what I do when I go to Vegas, and it's not good. It's just not good. And all kinds of little thoughts about gambling and vagina just start running through my mind. And when I met TPUSA, and you know, people are sexually aroused at TPU, and I'm not trying to disparage, I'm just telling you about human beings when they get together and there's alcohol and we're all in agreement, and just look at how beautiful the conservative influencers are, and you know, the whole nine, and that's when that's why I'm like, feels like Vegas to me. Let me stay at home, you know, and so that's. I see a lot. These are human beings.
Right.
I'm not trying to remove myself that I'm better than, but they're just human beings. And a big party in Scottsdale or Phoenix with alcohol and people that you agree with and attractive people and everybody, you know, fully functioning with Viagra and condoms and whatever else they need. That's what I see. It's like, man, Candace is destroying our Vegas weekend. I've had this on my calendar for a year. I bought these tickets a year ago. You know how people get ready for pool season and they start losing weight and blah, blah, blah. That's TPU AmeriFest. It had that. Am I lying here?
I'll be at AmFest, and those things won't be going through my mind, Jason. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
I'm not
Jason,
talking about you,
say,
Virgil, but go ahead.
Yeah,
Shemeka.
I've never been to AmFest,
yeah.
but I have been to CPAC and other events, and you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I've heard of all of the stories of people hooking up. So that absolutely does happen. And so I would think for some people, that may be their motivation. Don't get rid of our big party. Don't get rid of the opportunity that we have for people to say, oh, I want a picture with you, or there's so-and-so, there's that person. You know, there is this whole celebrity influencer group within the Conservative Party. That's absolutely the case. And there's a lot of things that go on behind closed doors that I'm privy to. That's absolutely the case. When people are saying, oh, Candace Owens may be responsible for Republicans losing the election, for me, I just don't think that's realistic. If I talk to my mother would not say, oh, I'm going to go to the polls and vote according to TPUSA or Candace. Most people want to be able to live, want to be able to afford groceries and to afford gas and just to be okay. They aren't as wrapped up in this as some of us who's online all day or who know a lot of these people.
Hold for 1
So
second,
I don't
though.
think the Republican
Hold for 1
success
second.
lies on the shoulders of Candace Owens. I just don't. Now, I do understand that TPUSA did a lot of work in reference to getting people registered and voting for Donald Trump, but that work can still continue. I just don't know if everybody has the desire for it to continue.
Let's tie it all together. Let's tie it all together. Hold on, Shemeka. And again, this is why, and again, I'm a Jesus freak, an imperfect one, but I'm a full-blown Jesus freak cult member. And what I know about politics, and this is why I'm like, I don't need a middleman in my depravity. And so if you're going to raise money, if you want donors to pony up, throw the best party you can possibly throw, alcohol, pretty women, make sure they have a good time. What stays at this political rally stays at this or what happens at this political rally stays at this political rally. It's just nothing but a different version of Vegas. People, conservative, liberal, men, women, they like to have a good time and they like to be a little bit flirtatious, and because they're all weak. I mean, we're all weak. And so TPUSA is a part of a fundraising apparatus, and hey, it's fun to be a conservative. And conservatives have been known as people with poles stuck up their rear end, and now they want to be, nope, we also swing on poles, and we throw money at women that swing on poles. That's all part of the brand. You can have fun over here too, because the Democrats, this is what they promise. You can smoke weed, you can do cocaine, you can be gay, you can be this, you can be trans, you can do anything. Vote for Democrats. We've legalized everything. And Republicans, in my view, and this is why I'm hated, or people find it hard to wrap their arms around me fully, it's like Republicans they got a softer version of that. You can do everything behind closed doors. They do it out front. They have drag queen story hours. You can come here and invite your drag queen back to your hotel room. I know y'all hate me, but I'm just keeping it real. Anybody got a final thought? Or before, you stand next to me and there'll be a virtual bullet that intended for me that may hit one of you all.
No, I hear everything you're saying. I've been there. I've seen the young people engage in all kinds of craziness. It's not unlike
And
anything that happened. It's not unlike those kinds of things don't happen anywhere else. To the point that Shemeka made, no, Candace won't change the trajectory of Republicanism. But what it can do, and the back and forth can do, is it can create an environment where people want to disengage from it all and say, you know what, that's a bunch of nonsense. Everybody's a fake. I'm staying home. Y'all can have it, and then ultimately the other party wins. I think that's what people are thinking about more so than anything else.
Mick, I'll give
Keep
you a
their
final
head down
thought.
and do the work. Continue the work. I watched people come after Scott Pressler for being gay, saying we don't like that. He kept his head down and continued to do the work. I really feel like if TPUSA is all claiming we want to continue Charlie Kirk's legacy, when is the next school event? When is the next college event where you're going to go out and really try to reach the heart of the young people? You could continue the work. The whole organization doesn't have to stop to answer Candace's questions. She's one woman. Keep doing the work. If that's where their heart is, if that's what's important, keep doing the work. I'm just not seeing that.
Taking me a lot of discipline not to crack some more jokes here, get myself in trouble. So I'm going to end the show before I start calling out names of some of the conservative ladies that I would love to see at AmFest. Not because they have any interest in me, just because I have interest in them and just want to let them know that. So anyway, let me just stop. We're done. Thank you. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next time.
So divided, stop fighting and say nation, one united. Now we're headed for downfall.